Hello, I'm Neil from Vodafone Business and I'm the head of the energy sector. I'm here with my colleague Emma, the head of innovation, and Matt, who's the Chief Information Officer for UK Power Networks. In this session, we're going to talk about innovation. What is innovation? What does it mean? And how do we see it panning out in the future of energy? Okay, Emma, so could you just touch on some of the things that at Vodafone we're doing around 5G and 5G slicing, and maybe some of the challenges that we've faced into as part of that, and then maybe we can move to Matt and see how that might, some of the learnings that may be taken into the energy system.
Sure. So I think the arrival of 5G is heralded as the industrial internet. It should unlock many different business models like we've never seen before. And certainly Vodafone, we've had a lot of experience in innovating in the way in which we deliver 5G, some early adoptive trials in slicing in particular. But if you think about it, we were the first to deliver 5G, the first 5G holographic call, first 5G commercial slice, which last year actually for the coronation. That was some achievement. Millions of people watching around the world on a 5G slice delivered by Vodafone to get the comms. But the trick is, how will we know the energy industry requirements? How will they want to consume a 5G slice? What we've learned is it really only stacks up where it's commercially viable and you actually can really use the slice to prioritize level of service and design. So we're trying to think about that translatable use cases. Where it fares well is in low latency applications, in a densely populated area, where there's a need to get something done quick. So for example, we worked with a media and entertainment company to get the first picture of Keir Starmer as he walked out of Downing Street this year. So the pressure was really on prioritizing service, delivering a design in the network without the need of a backhaul, and actually a slice was able to deliver that service. So help me to translate that into the energy world. How would we predict UKPN might see the future of 5G slicing?
For me, it's about the optimisation piece. We are transitioning into a world where data volume, the latency or the speed at which we receive that data, the ability to integrate it and process it, gain insight and to action it is greater than ever before. So therefore, we need to be able to have a network that is capable of transporting that data as resiliently and securely as possible, coping with that volume with appropriate levels of latency, which may vary depending on the use cases. And clearly, you as a network provider will be able to, and a communication operator will be able to facilitate pretty much whatever we need, but at what cost? And it's about how do we achieve that level of performance and resilience as sustainably, as efficiently as possible. And I think that's where the capabilities that you'll talk about has a role to play. But I think there's a huge requirement for that collaboration, that closer communication, that common language that we use to understand how the two come together and facilitate one another.
So Matt, UK Power Networks have done a world first in Project Constellation. We're delighted to have played a part in that. Would you be able to talk me through that, what the objectives are and how you expect that to scale in the future?
So Constellation's an innovation project being led by UK Power Networks, multi-party activity which is focused on digitalisation of substations effectively. So how do we maximise digital technologies at the edge of our network effectively to have as much intelligence, insight and automation as possible at the substation level, so that it isn't a case of all of that information and data being captured across the network and being centralised, and that's where you have your decision making. It's about how do you enable that in a distributed fashion across the electrical infrastructure. So as you say, industry first, massively successful, and ultimately the learnings and insight will inform how we can facilitate that practically in a prioritised manner across our infrastructure, so that we can start to really leverage that intelligence and capability across the whole energy system, not just for UK Power Networks, but as an innovation project that's utilising regulatory innovation funding benefits the whole industry.
So Matt, Project Constellation, a world's first of 5G adoption in the energy market. What are your thoughts around what Project Constellation is trying to achieve? And can you remember what life was like before Project Constellation?
So ultimately it's about realising the digitalisation of the energy system. So the energy system at its core is an analogue system made up of switches and mechanical devices that you don't have to go back in time so very far, where it is men in vans flipping switches and talking to each other over the phone. So digitalisation is providing increased visibility and automation and intelligence that is machine driven, that takes that away from the human interaction. But given the scale and the complexity of the energy system, the amount of devices and therefore data that's being produced, the communication exchange, integration and insight obtained from that is huge. So there's benefits to be obtained by moving that to the edge, by having that intelligence within the substation rather than having to bring it into the core. So it allows us to leverage the benefits and the efficiency, efficient operation of the network, decarbonisation benefits off the back of that, and enhancing our overall quality of service by having that insight, that intelligence at the point at which the interaction network is made, rather than data having to be transported, integrated, brought to the centre and then pushed back out again.
And some of the results have been fascinating, Matt. So one of the results is deployed at scale across the whole of the UK. It will save about 64,000 tonnes of carbon. So to translate, that's about 38,000 transatlantic flights. Now, we talked earlier about one of the challenges, one of the opportunities is for the industries to work together in a more collaborative way. Now, you run part of the energy system, but of course not all of it. So can you just talk a little bit about how the results of this will filter into the rest of the energy system and how they may learn from that?
Yeah, absolutely. So as a innovation project that's funded via Ofgem, our regulator, it's effectively operated under a mechanism where the intellectual property, the insights and the learnings gained are shared across the sector. So it is not just for UKPN's benefit, it is for the industry and even beyond. Also the collaboration of the number of parties involved, ourselves from UK Power Networks and Vodafone, but also other third parties covering the various aspects of the technologies involved. All of them collaborated in bringing their subject matter expertise to the table to get it to operate as a whole, and that's where there'll be that collective learning effectively and benefits to the whole industry.